Hey, so you're okay to work late, right?
No.
You can't work late? If you can't work late, I can't work late. And if I can't work late, I can't work late! Someone gets a hug if they get that reference. Hello and welcome again to the Bunny Perspective. This week we're gonna go positive. Oh, I sent you clicking off now. Look, stick around. I have a film you're gonna love. In this episode, we're gonna talk about the positives of remakes. Okay, you are definitely rechecking Twitter. Listen, seriously, we need to talk about this. I've got a reimagining so good, it should be the model for all remakes. But enough of this begging you to watch. This week, we're talking about the do-over of the Sergio Leone classic, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. The Korean action film by director and writer Ji-woon Kim, The Good, the Bad, the Weird. Play the song!
Way back then it was okay to be a little weird, but all my friends are dead and some have even grown a beard.
Now, saying this is a remake of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly isn't really fair. It uses elements and has many callbacks to the original. Hell, the characters are all the same archetypes. They even have the same jobs in both movies. Now, it isn't a traditional remake because both the time and the space are completely different. It takes place in Manchuria rather than the American West, and in 1930 rather than during the Civil War. But the basic plot and the characters are very similar, and in some cases, the same.
Huh, it'll be a lot easier with
It's closer to a reimagining, I suppose, but it's so close to the original plot that I call it a remake. Honestly, this does more homaging than remaking, and I think that's my argument. All remakes ought to be more homage than recreation. Briefly, the Leone film is about three not-so-good guys trying to find a treasure. Angel is the bad, an assassin and bandit who lives up to his job. This dude kills a lot of fuckers.
Angel!
Then there is arguably the best character, Tuco, the thief. Tuco is the ugly, or rather the wild card. He is just gullible enough to be sympathized with, and so backbiting and cowardly it's hard to see him as any sort of good guy. Tuco building this gun is a priceless scene. And lastly, Clint Eastwood as the man with no name, who is a bit of a shady bounty hunter. Though it's clear he doesn't like killing, he will if he has to. Unlike that pussy Batman.
You don't say anything bad about Batman.
Linkara, everyone. Thanks, buddy. Anyway.
You need me for anything else?
No, I don't need you for anything else. See, now I can put you in the tags, and you can bump this on Twitter, and I'll get a whole lot more extra views. Your coattails have been rode, motherfucker.
Sad I could help.
Anyway, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is a classic film. It's slow-paced with clever dialogue and cinematography. So what could anyone do to improve this story? Well, how about this? I'm looking over at the clip. The first change is the pace of the action. Sure, the original has gunfights and they are exciting, but this film turns the intensity up dramatically. It doesn't suffer for this, balancing the over-the-top shootouts with conversation and great cinematography, which the original did in spades. And The Good, the Bad, and the Weird is 2 hours and 10 minutes long, which is only 40 minutes shorter than the original. So if I have to cite a problem with both of these films, is that they are a bit long. The Good, the Bad, the Weird feels shorter and in the best way. It moves from set piece to set piece with great action and conversation. Everything is a joy to look at. So if Good, the Bad, and the Ugly has three iconic characters, who are they in this film? Well, the bad is Park Chan-ji Yi, a badass murderer and thief. He acts a bit like Angel, but he is his own character, with a sort of revenge backstory. I'll not spoil it here, but it's an interesting twist that only makes the movie better. Next is the weird, or the wild card. Yoon Tae-gu, a thief and murderer with a mysterious past. He has this great way of avoiding danger haphazardly. You never really know if he's just that good or if it's completely luck. That is until the end of the movie, of course. Like the ugly Tuco, Yoon isn't probably the best character. He makes this movie. He is the protagonist. Love his costume design, and of course, anyone wearing goggles is immediately cool. Lastly is the good. In The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, the man with no name is played by the immortal Clint Eastwood. In this, he has a name, Park Do-won. Do-won is great. He has more of a classic bounty hunter look, the hat, the duster. He looks like he stepped right out of the Wild West. He's even a crack shot with a rifle, just like Clint Eastwood's character. He's about as good as Eastwood. He kills a lot of dudes, but he does so more in self-defense. I also love how he has a bunch of wanted posters with him. The main difference is that Do-won, the good, is not really the main character. In The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Eastwood is who most people consider the hero, even though Tuco tends to steal the movie. Oh, he's playing with a kitty, that means he's a good guy. So I mentioned the setting. Manchuria is a great place, and in the 1930s it has a lot of things going on similar to the West during the Civil War.
만주에서 자네가 최고 아닌가?
만주에서.
There wasn't a war going on, but Japan was building railroad tracks at this time to transport raw materials like coal.
내려.
So like the warring North and South, there is a military presence. And yes, this is in China, but our leads are Korean.
니들 조선말 진짜 몰라?
The locations are outstanding. Everything has this bombed out World War II feel that suits the movie well. And this makes it feel more like a modern Western rather than a 1930s era film. Many of the shots are jaw-droppingly beautiful, just like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. The costume design is second to none. I mean, look at Yoon!
이렇게 된 거 아니야? 형한테 보통 현상금 300원이다. 300원?
He looks like a weirdo in all the best ways. Everyone is dressed differently. Mangil, who's a pal of Yoon, has very World War II look about him with his helmet and leather trench coat.
Come on.
So unlike The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, there is a map that everyone is after. Stolen right away in one of the best POV shots ever by Yoon. The train stuff is a callback to the original, but we'll talk about the callbacks later. This is the first major set piece, and it's awesome! The train sets us up for a Western film, even though the setting doesn't require it. And this never feels wrong. In The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, it's a pile of gold that everyone is after. In this, you never are told what the treasure is.
청나라 보물지도 아니면 금강지도가 확실해. 맞아, 딴 데뿐만 아니라 일본군 애들도 이거 찾느라고 난리가 아니래네.
There's a nice flip of ideas there. I mentioned the director because his other films are really amazing, though completely different genres. Ji-woon Kim directed the mind-breaking horror revenge film I Saw the Devil. I think I might talk about it more in depth, but it's a great revenge film. He also directed the spooky A Tale of Two Sisters.
It's super spooky wookie.
I recommend both these films, and all of them, including The Good, the Bad, the Weird, are on Netflix Instant Queue, so there's no excuse not to watch them. There are a lot of good callbacks to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. The last scene of the film is almost identical. They even do the close-up on the eyes, a Western classic. There are a few other little moments from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly that are echoed in this film. So that's all I have to say. If you permit me to go on a little bit of a rant, this is why other countries are beating us in creative fields. For whatever reason, we are bombarded from Hollywood with dumb remakes, reimaginings, and fucking film adaptations. I don't even need to mention them, and you can think of a few that piss you off. I realize that nothing is wholly original, but this is ridiculous. What I'm saying is Hollywood seems to be no longer willing to take risks. The plot of this movie is simple but good. The characters fleshed out and interesting, and there is no way this movie would do well in the United States. Fact is, the masses are not ready to think. And until we stop seeing countless Chipmunk and Smurf movies, we're doomed to watch the film industry in this country slowly but surely lose credibility. Remaking things is not the problem. Idiots are. Aren't you glad you waited until the end?
Mo Bobine.